To survive the collectibles market today, you have to follow this simple rule. Keep the pace going. And if there is a company that embodies this simple rule, it's Iron Studios. This Brazilian company is not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's not trying to copy what others are doing. It's not trying to go after Prime One Studio or Seiya Collectibles. They know what they do, and what they do better than anyone else, which is cover the wanted market. And on that, they are succeeding time and time again. Now, we just have the Iron Studios Inside video, which is the video at the end of the month where they showcase everything that is going on pre-order for the next month. And again, they have a lot of surprises there, a lot of beautiful additions to all the collections they have. So in this video, I want to go through them. I want to break them down, the good, the bad, the things I like, the things I don't like, and ultimately want to let you know and help you out if you want to get this add to your collection or not. So the next couple of minutes, stay tuned. First, I want to start with this new piece, and this is for the Magic the Gathering. This is the Liliana vest, $255. There's another statue that was produced from the same character from, I think it was, I'm not sure if it was released in the NXM Studios for quarter scale collectors. I think it was quarter scale 1/6. I don't remember well, but that was a few years ago. But this is what Iron Studios is doing. Of course, they've been building this, the Magic the Gathering. This is a very interesting piece. It does have a switch out portrait, which is great. Even though they're 110, that doesn't mean that they're skipping on adding certain things to it. The height of this is 12.2 inches tall. It does have a little bit of height, and that is because of that vase. And you can see those spirits or zombies or whatever it is. I'm not really into Magic the Gathering for sure, but I like the piece. It's simple. Paint job is simple. I like the color there. I'm not sure. It seems to me that it's going to be, does it have a light up feature, or you're able to light it up because of the clear resin? It's a very nice touch. You might be able to do that. But yeah, it's clear resin even in her hand. Looks great. Very nice purple. I like the paint job they did with this one, and the portrait looks fantastic for a very tiny little piece as a 110. They have done a really nice job in really bringing the character, and you can see these spirits or zombies or whatever they are. Very nice touch for those who really are into this. But I like even the purple in her dress. It has different touches of different colors there, which adds to the dimension of the character. Now, following the Dark team within gaming, let's look at Mortal Kombat here with Shao Kahn, Emperor of the Outworld. $235 is a 110 too. This is a very nice piece for sure. Primarily, of course, because Shao Kahn is impressive, imposing as a character. So they really doing the imposing pose here. And I think they went with a very natural pose. But the job they did with this piece is fantastic. I love the sculpting here. Even the veins popping on his legs and his arms. For a 110 piece, it looks kind of like a quarter scale. It rivals in the detail there. Of course, you have reduced this scale. We have seen the Shao Kahns from other companies, Pop Culture Shock. That's the one that comes to mind. But they did a fantastic job here. Of course, Iron Studios knows how to cater to the 110. They've been building this Mortal Kombat. This is a fantastic Shao Kahn. We have had other Shao Kahns. I think the one sitting on the throne, we had that before. But this one looks fantastic in this pose. It looks very, very imposing. Love the detail there. The paint job, the silver, the maze that he's carrying. It's just really fantastic. You know, like look at his finger, the paint job on his skin. It's not pale, at least this prototype. Hopefully the final product is the same, but it looks really nice. The detail, there's blood on that ground. Very nice base, which is classic. Also, you see the red of the blood on the symbol of Mortal Kombat. Very, very nice piece for sure. Overall, I like it. This is perhaps one of the best pieces they have done so far. Now, if you're a fan of classic manga, classic anime, then definitely you're going to be familiar with Seiya. Here is a new addition to the Seiya collection. We have the Gemini Saga. This is an action pose here. Very interesting. They went with this one. Perhaps this is not my favorite of the statues they have produced so far. He, of course, is exploding there. His power is being manifested. This is one that feels a bit stiff, at least in my view. It's not necessarily I'm a big fan of this one. He does have the two different portraits, the evil one and the regular one. It's standing up. You can, this is the thing, the flowing part is kind of I'm not a fan of it. That is one that perhaps I'm not as a big fan of it. From all the pieces that I have produced here, that perhaps is my least favorite. And I'm looking at the mount. I don't know if it's sculpted or painted. It seems sculpted from this angle. But I don't know, something about the head. I feel like the neck feels too long, elongated a bit, so the head stands very tall. I'm not sure if they're actually taking this most inspiration instead of the anime, which is the most popular part of the the series. Are they taking it more from the manga? That's a possibility, a big possibility. They're inspiring this more from the manga. But in any case, you can see the gold there. There's different shades of gold. Some parts seem more silver than others. I don't know if that is a choice of reflection. That's another thing that I'm not necessarily a fan of, because I don't remember it's a gold, his whole armor is golden, and there's different variations of golden, but this goes into the level of being more silver. So I don't know, and maybe it's just did the effect with it, but I think it should be more of a golden part. It feels that there's a lot of silver parts, or they were not completely finished on the paint, trying to represent the reflection. It's kind of like trying to imitate the reflection of gold. But sometimes can go either way. Sometimes it can look like unpainted, unfinished. So I don't know if this is something just me that it feels that way. Also, the explosion and the power in the back, it looks okay. It feels a little too forced and plasticky. Sometimes I hate it when they use clear resin and they try to imitate an effect, but it doesn't come across as the effect that you want to. The explosion here, perhaps. I've been very critical of this piece, if you can notice that, but it's just, I feel that there's parts that feel unfinished. Maybe the final product will be better than this, but it feels like some parts feel unfinished. And we can actually be critical right now, and there's not much competition in the 110 realm, but there's a lot of Seiya pieces out there in 1/6 and quarter scale now, and they all look fantastic, and companies are doing an amazing job with the paint job. So yes, for 110 collectors, it's a great thing to add. If you're building your knights, then definitely you need to have all of them, the golden knights. But yeah, I don't know, it's something that I feel that it's missing here, that I don't know, this is not the best rendition. Now, moving into Masters of the Universe, of course the movie is coming and a lot of people are riled up for it, myself included. I'm looking forward to the film. But here we have Cobra Khan, one of my favorite villains as a kid. I used to have the toy, the one that sprayed the water through his head. It was always awesome, one of my favorite figures in my collection. And here, of course, now we have the statue, and this looks really good. $255 has become the standard for pieces of 110 within that realm. $250, $300 or so. That's the standard. Sometimes it goes over that, but in any case, that Cobra Khan looks fantastic. I like the pose I went with. It reminds me of the Killer Croc that from Sideshow Collectibles. Seems to be the pose for a lot of these characters. And of course, the interchangeable portrait and the effect in his mouth, spinning his poison. That is awesome. 8 inches, very nice. Cobra Khan does have a little bit of like an alligator feel to it in the face, but also you can see the cobra, or the effect of the cobra. They did like, they're trying to imitate both the skin, although some of them looks more like they took a little inspiration more of a creature from like a crocodile or an alligator rather than a cobra. But in any case, you can see that. And I just noticed that there's another snake he's stepping on. I just noticed that now. I didn't notice it until now. Well, that is a cool addition. I like it when he has this, of course. That is a nice portrait. I guess it's going to be added. I don't know if it's going to need a magnet or so. It's an interchangeable portrait for sure, but we're really looking forward to see it. But the eyes, very cool. And here you can see the back. Definitely the inspiration from the toy. They took some inspiration from that and they just enhance it. And I always see these arms coming out from this water, other creatures too, which maybe other little cobras. I don't know. Again, the venom effect and the extra portrait right there. Very cool vase, very nice vase. Really plays the part really, really well with the character. I can see even some bronze coloration in his suit and the parts of his clothing. That is really, really sick. Now, another addition to the Masters of the Universe line, you got Boss Off. Of course, Boss Off, another favorite character. If you're into the good guys, Boss Off was a fantastic figure. That was my brother used to, and this I want to tell you, like when we used to collect Masters of the Universe, I have the bad guys, he had the good guys. I always like the bad guys more than I like the good guys because of the design choices. But if there was one of those characters produced on the good side, of the good guys, that was awesome as a figure, was Boss Off. And now this one looks fantastic for sure. This rethinking of the character, even with the wings, as you can see, the clear resin or plastic. I'm not sure if there's a mixed media there, but box office is ready for battle. They did a really nice job with it. Now, there's some parts that they make it more of a black. I wish it was more of a brown, as it was on the toy. Parts of his body, you know, the claws in his arm, you know, his legs, all that. Because I always love that brown that they use for the character, for the toy. And very nice touch. Even the color scheme, they went for the brown skin. You know, it's really, really cool. Very cool concept. Again, I would love for this to be brown instead of black. It looks black, but that can be changed at some point. But the design itself, the concept, trying to think if this is actually based on the film that is coming, or at least they're following their own rule. I'm not completely sure about it. I will know, because I haven't really kept much of I've seen some of the trailers, but I try to stay away from it because I want to be surprised when I go to the movies. I don't want to spoil everything. So I love to enjoy the films that way. At least this film, not all the films, but this film. But in any case here, very cool, very nice touch. The details on the armor, the base. Trying to understand what the base is about. Something that he's fighting against, some type of robot or so. That's what it looks like. Those robots, yeah, that's in the whatever's left over of those robots from She-Ra. You know, those androids things that, you know, were flying or whatever. So I think, again, there's basing a lot of things into the universe that are part of the same. Now, the king in this collection, the piece that a lot of people are excited about and they're looking forward to, is this He-Man and Battle Cat Deluxe. This is based on the film. It's $500. And I think it's fair because of the dimensions of this piece, because of Battle Cat. Battle Cat here is not a small kitty. This is a big cat. And honestly, looks really fantastic. Very unique. Of course, we already had the other piece that was based on the cartoon. We have that in before, but I like the pose of this Battle Cat. I like it way more than the other. And the base is huge. It's gonna be tall. For 110, it's still gonna have some really nice dimension, and I'm glad that they stuck with the price that is within reach. They didn't go for like $1,000 or so, as sometimes Iron Series can do with some things, you know, as we see with Disney most of the time. But it has to do with the license that they have, and I think it's really well done. It's really approachable. Mattel is really, right now, everything, you can see so many products are being produced because of the film, like toys. Even you see those popcorn buckets, which I think is too crazy in my opinion to go and try to collect those things. I don't know, it's just a plastic piece of whatever, and they charge you top dollar for nothingness. You know, I'd rather get the figures or statues, you know. So this statue looks really nice, 13 inches tall. Very nice touch, very well done. Battle looks amazing, and definitely the pose that they went for, it's very regal, and that is the way I envision it in my head, of course, unless there's two ways: he holding the sword on top, or just like that. It's just a very regal piece, very well detailed, and excites me even more to watch the film. Now let's get to see more 80s goodness, and of course Transformers, big thing from the 80s. The same thing as Masters of the Universe. Transformers were the toys of the time, and I still to this day collect those toys. But here we have a Soundwave. This is $355 for this piece. I think it's a great price, by the way. The size, it's okay. It's 11.5, and honestly, because I've been collecting the collectible that I have a Optimus Prime from, that was produced by Pop Culture Shock, which unfortunately that line went away. I haven't even gone through the dimensions to see, perhaps this is the one that can also fit within that realm, because I love that Optimus Prime, but feels alone without any other character. I was thinking, do I keep it? Do I sell it? Do I get rid of it? Or maybe now Iron Studios comes to the rescue and the pieces kind of fit in. I have to kind of go through it. I got to look at the dimensions and all that. But in any case, we have Soundwave, and Soundwave, it's posed in a way which is not bad. You know, he's, you know, crouch, perhaps not the best pose, but still very cool. Honestly, it's not a bad pose because he is in fighting mode, and Laserbeak on top of him, and that looks neat in my opinion. It does have a more modern touch, more modern look. Of course, right now Transformers are very popular, with even the comic books are being produced right now by Skybound. Fantastic comic books. I think there's always going to be this hunger for Transformers, paraphernalia, Transformers collectibles, anything that is Transformers. So it looks good. Honestly, not bad. Now, my only thing have been nice to have an extra piece, or like maybe some other things to surround this. Maybe a companion piece with Ravage, for example. They could have done something very, very, very similar. They did not. Only Laserbeak, but that's fine. Perhaps they can do that as a companion at some point. Another piece will come with it. I don't know. But honestly, very, very cool as a concept. Simple, more slim. Definitely it has more of a comic book inspiration, which honestly is not a bad thing either. And here you can see some clear resin at some point in some areas. Very, very cool piece overall. Now, moving from the 80s to the 90s, if there was one of those franchises that shaped the culture, definitely Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have to be counted. Now, of course, they started in the 80s, in the late 80s, as a comic book, very obscure. But the 90s, that's when they exploded. The late 80s with some of the cartoons that were coming out in the late 80s, but it was into the 90s that the whole thing kind of just went and created its own universe that was beyond belief. And of course, here we have a new figure, a new statue, Donatello Unleashed. This is the new Unleashed collection they have. And I'm telling you, Donatello, they're going with a modern touch with Donatello, with all the whole line. But this Donatello, of course, looks very geeky, very interesting, big smile, which is good. Sometimes you present Donatello a bit more of as a geek, kind of like a dumbfounded all the time, like out of place or shy. No, he is definitely not shy here. He's just like enjoying the moment, and he has this evil laugh, which is nothing wrong with it. I like it. And here you can see the base that they have, the same concept. This is gonna fit so well with already building, and it has the gizmos, different gadgets. Of course, Donnie is always doing something with it. That is a nice concept. And I like it. It's very modern, and there's never lack of desire from collectors to collect anything that has to be with them. I'm not always a fan of this forced perspective. That's something that they do where they make something a dimension small, looks like a tiny little room. This looks like the room on the house of April O'Neil or so. It does remind me a little bit of the film, the original film, when the film, of course, the house was destroyed. I don't know if that is what they're trying to do, but that's forced perspective when something's small, but it represents like something at an angle or a distance. It's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. It just shows that he's on top of it. They couldn't just simply kind of keep it clear or that, and I would be fine with it. You don't have to really do any forced perspective here. But Donnie looks like he is about to do something, and something bad. I don't know what it is, but the way he's smirking, smiling, he definitely is ready for battle, ready to do whatever he has to do. But we do not only have now Donatello. Previously, we talked about Raphael in another video. We also have Michelangelo, and Michelangelo looks really, really neat. Again, they're going from this idea where the characters are like ready to do something. Of course, this also represents who Michelangelo is. You know, Mikey has his skateboard, something that it's always been popular and known from him, and it looks good. He's about to fight too, and he's on top of, also you see the pizza sign there, very cool. The whole concept there on the rooftops, I like that. And he looks great. The teeth also, it just, they did a really nice job. I don't know who designed this, of course, because Iron Studios unfortunately doesn't really share that information, but the people who are involved in this came out with a really nice concept for the guys. They all look fantastic coming together. Mikey looks great. Love everything. The paint job in this prototypes is excellent. You know, they have produced a lot of beautiful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle statues, but these are great. And honestly, I prefer this to the previous collection, the first collection they had. And I do like the one also that it represents the original comic book that is coming soon. It hasn't been released yet, but it was on pre-order. I'm not sure if they still have it on pre-order. All right, guys, it's now time to get into the Disney licenses. Of course, we're talking about the Disney products themselves, but also we're talking about Marvel and Star Wars. We're gonna cover that now. But let's start with Disney products, and we start with Hades. Hades, of course, this is a villain. This is another villain from Hercules. Now, the price here, it seems fair. It's a fully sculpted piece, lack of a little bit of detail here. They could even done cheaper because of that. But it does look great. The sculpting here represents the character. He's so Machiavellic and definitely looks the part. And it's a simple piece. But honestly, I still feel that the price on this one, $255, which is they're doing. We have passed a few pieces that were $255 that had way more detail than this. Of course, we saw Shao Kahn. That's also $255, I think. So the detail, the layers of the paintwork here. How many layers can you do? This is one thing I would say about Disney license, particularly the Disney license. For franchises that, and honestly, or for movies that honestly, they're past their prime. They already win, and some people like them, but they're not constantly, they're not producing more and more and more. So I don't know why is the idea of Disney sometimes, and I know it's not Iron Studios, it's just the license itself. You know, for them to produce these characters, they're paying top dollar, more than likely, because they have to, one way or another, they have to recoup the investment. And mostly it's about paying that. Now, it's not a bad statue. You're building these villains. And right now, Iron Studios is really doing what other companies used to do back in the day. A lot of companies are not doing it anymore. It's mini statues, you know, figurines, all of that. Now they're taking over in a way. Iron Studios is doing a nice job. It's a nice piece for sure. But $255, maybe not. I would say $200. That's about it. That is my best offer for it. I don't think, and maybe they sell out, or maybe they sit there forever and they go into the bin. You know, the clearance sale. I don't know. We'll find out when the time comes. Now, the next Disney product here is The Incredibles. This diorama is really a testament of what I'm saying right here about pricing. $805. $805. Honestly, we just saw what they did with the Kingpin quad scale statue. That is $755, something like that. 700 is less than $800. What's the difference here? That is a quad scale piece. $800 and some dollars what it costs for the Killer Croc statue from Sideshow, but here's $105. Now, I'm not saying this to put blame on Iron Studios. Iron Studios is just producing a product. Maybe part of the contract they have with to produce Marvel stuff, to produce Star Wars stuff, is also part of that agreement is that they are forced to produce Disney stuff, and they're doing it. But the license is very expensive, so they have to recoup. They cannot lose money, because you can see how the difference are sometimes with the Marvel things. Marvel tend to be a little cheaper, but the Disney stuff is not. And the Marvel is more, in my mind, it's more popular than the Disney stuff. At least that's what I believe. Maybe it's just my perspective, but I this is the part. Yes, it is a diorama. There's a lot of parts here. There's 4 characters here. It's actually 5 because you count the baby. But still, this is not the price for it. Even you saw, of course, the Masters of the Universe, He-Man and Battle Cat. That is a big piece, dimension-wise. And that is costing $500. I don't justify $800 for this. As much as I like The Incredibles, I like the film. I think it's funny, and I wish there was another Incredibles film. I just don't see it. Now, it has interchangeable parts here, like in the invisible Jack, the baby, and the metal Jack. Cool. Need it? No. Does that justify $100? It doesn't. It's interesting as a piece. It's beautiful. I know Disney fans are going to love it, but honestly, it just sets a bad precedent price-wise. Because you can also go and get a Nesco figurine too, and other companies that have produced figurines forever, and pay a little less. Although some of the Nesco can be very expensive, some of the stuff that is produced from other companies is expensive, and that goes back to the way Disney has always priced its products that comes from their licenses, the direct licenses. I don't know. It's just something that I don't see. It's a beautiful. I don't want to, in this case, dismiss here the quality of the sculpt and what they have done with this piece. Now, the portrait on the face of her, it kind of looks the part, but I feel there's something, I don't know if it looks more rounded. I think in the film she has a more elongated face. I think the cheekbones, I don't know, something off with it. Now, the girl looks fine. The son looks fine. The baby with the different iterations of the baby, I don't know, it's just the mother. It's like something off with the face. Maybe needs some work on that. The clear resin they use there, or the type of resin they use, and they paint it with purple. The father, of course, Mr. Incredible, looks good. He looks perhaps as the most favorite piece there, or at least the one that looks 100%. So yeah, there's a couple of things. I'm not saying that this is a bad piece. I like it. Even the base is simple. It's very elegant in a way. You can see that base. It's painted, but it looks like a wooden base, but it's actually painted resin. And you see the Incredible sign there. It's a nice piece. But again, I don't think it's worth more than $800. This should be $500 the most. All right, we are moving now into Marvel. Now Disney, of course, this is all part of Disney, but Marvel, it's its own thing. And Marvel, this is $235. Again, like I said, price. What's the difference? Why is it that, you know, Disney is more expensive? Like you saw Hades $255, but Vulture, look at the detail of Vulture, is $235. It's even cheaper. And the guy has wings, which require more detail than the simple Hades statue. So to me, it's not about dimension. Even this is taller, 13.7 inches tall, but it's the details that go with it. It's a more detailed piece, but how is it that they, maybe because Vulture is less popular? I don't think so. I think any character that has to do with Marvel Universe is more popular than Hades, a movie that came out in the 90s. So I don't know. It's just me. It's just, I feel that, again, I'm not dissing what they're doing with Disney, but you can see that it's something to do with the license. But here, this is a beautiful, beautiful depiction of the Vulture. No doubt about it. One of my favorite villains in the Spider-Man universe has always been the Vulture. I love his character. I love it the way he's always been depicted. The artists depicted him in marvelous ways. I love how he was depicted in the 90s, particularly Eric Larson. I love how he depicted the Vulture. And they did a fantastic job. Very classic, the outfit, his clothing with the wings. Very nice detail. Before this, of course, I will tell you that the Bowen Designs is a fantastic Vulture. But this is a very nice for 110. There's no other out there. This is as good as he gets, as good as you're gonna get. And of course, the destruction that he has caused. We have seen, of course, Vulture based on the film, on the most recent film, but this is definitely a fantastic classic Vulture. Now, those cuts are made with his wings. I don't know if he can do that in the comics. This is more like on the movies. But in the comics, he doesn't really cut metal like that with the wings. That is something that is a bit off. But cool, nonetheless. Cool, nonetheless, because Vulture he has strength. You know, he has a character. He's a tough one, too, to defeat. He's not the smartest, but he's tough to defeat. Very nice detail. Very nice on the greens on the wings. They did a nice job. They put a little bit of that yellow, kind of lemony. It looks really nice on detail. Adds up to it. Very, very nice touch. Green in his outfit. But it's a classic Vulture for sure. Now we're looking at the Kingpin, and this is another $255, but I justify the $255 on Kingpin because this one also has detail. Now, we saw recently the Sideshow Kingpin, which is a fantastic piece. There's no denying on that. I like this one more on the portrait because it's more classic comic book. It doesn't look like a bulldog. He looks like a tough guy. Still strong in the prime, not an old guy, but a strong guy too. Because if you read the comics, you realize that the Kingpin, yeah, is depicted different ways, but the way he was depicted through in the Frank Miller era is that he was still in his prime physically. Yeah, he's big and tall and this and that, but he's not an old man. He's definitely a tough guy. And something that we have seen that has been followed really well in the TV shows because, you know, he's a tough guy. He's strong to beat. And don't confuse this guy being big as fat. That's a lot of muscle. But in any case, that is the way it's depicted in the comic book, of course. But here you can see they follow the same classic turn as you see with the Sideshow, the same colors with the purple pants, the white suit, and of course everything. Even the jacket inside is that orange, and the same with the tie, the blue. Same concept. Now they're using a white shirt. I think on the other one was like a purple shirt. He is holding in his hand the cowl of Daredevil, which is the same concept as Sideshow, which is great. But what they did with the base, they make like, you know, the little chess pieces. They took this, definitely some of those ideas come out of the chess pieces from XM Studios. It seems like how companies and artists, they kind of inspire themselves from others. They take the inspiration from here and there and they build this. But what they did, instead of having, of course, the table with the chess pieces, what they did is that they put pieces of other characters. And what they did here, as you can see, they have the pieces of Daredevil and the Punisher, which is amazing. They should have done also one with Spider-Man for sure, because the Spider-Man is another big villain. It seems lately they've been attached only the Kingpin as the only villain with in this case with Daredevil, but it's not the case. Even above the Punisher, it's always been Spider-Man. So it's just the times, I guess. They trying to that narrative that is followed by the films and the movies, and that's how things are doing. A lot of people will not read the comics, they just follow the narrative. that it's more known to them, which comes from the films, from the TV shows. But in any case, here it's a very nice concept, very good, very similar to Sideshow. But honestly, I love the portrait, and I would have loved that they have used a type of portrait similar to this one for the Sideshow. And of course, he's carrying his cane. That stone, now the Sideshow is doing a diamond. Big diamond, by the way. This one is more like a aquamarine or something like that. I don't know if that is the case, but it's something there. Cool. Very nice. He looks more young. Of course, big guy, but he looks a lot younger than the Sideshows. Very beautiful nonetheless. And I like, of course, his ring. 2 rings. A mare ring and his ring of his, his family. With the F, of course, of Fisk, his last name. And the shoes. Very polished shoes. Very well detailed. And those, actually the portraits they use for those pieces with Daredevil, that is a nice portrait. Also the one for the Punisher. Very, very nice. Very nice pieces for sure. It's a beautiful depiction of the Kingpin. And honestly, if it was quite a scale, it will give Sideshow a run for its money. That's for sure. That's for sure. And a lot of people would have loved this one. And the pants, they have, look, the lines. The lines are, honestly, I prefer the simple pants that they were used on the Sideshow more than the ones here. But you can see even on his legs, he's not a fat guy. He's just a big guy. There's some fat on top of that muscle, but it's more muscle than anything else. And they were careful to depict that, a strong figure, a strong stand. He's a tough guy who can kill anybody with his bare hands. That is just the way they're trying to do. And look at the shoes. Those are huge shoes. That's a big guy. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool figure for sure. Cool statue. They did a fantastic job with this one, no doubt about it. All right, now we're moving on to Star Wars, which is again part of Disney. But here we have Han Solo. This is $205. I think it's excellent as the price it should be for a lot of pieces here. But here we have Han Solo. Now, the pose is classic. It's classic Han Solo. It is a really nice job there. The portrait is a bit off. But it's something that it's common sometimes and for smaller pieces, even for big pieces, to try to replicate the likeness of an actor, of a character on a movie or TV show. It's a bit different than just trying to do something based on an art. You can deviate a little bit. You can change because you have an inspired image. And you have to take inspiration from that and create something. Once you have to copy the features, that takes a lot of effort, and not all the statue makers do it great. Now, I'm not saying that this is bad, because from some angles, from this one, for example, from here, the face looks, that's Harrison Ford. It. You can see it, 8.6 inches tall. Like what they did with the base. You see, of course, all the greenery and the mask, the helmet of one of the stormtroopers. Very, very cool. He's holding his gun. Nice detail on the paint job, on the hands, on the outfit. Definitely nice detail. Very, very well done. And you can see it right there, the stormtrooper helmet. Classic all around from the last film. For sure, they took that inspiration. But looking great with all the greenery. He's definitely there. It's nice. From this angle, this is the angle that you want to face it. That you want to have it. That is the classic thing. And from this angle, it looks good. From this angle, this is when you get close. On this angle, is where it feels like the faces start. It looks more like a look-alike rather than the actor. So yeah, from this other angle, from the back, it's fine. You don't have a problem. From this angle, that looks fine. From this side is when you turn around, when you start losing that. And when you get close, of course, you're going to see it. Of course, the only thing is that we didn't have any close-up on the portrait beyond this one. From this angle, yeah, it looks like him, but, not 100%, maybe 90% likeness. But honestly, you already know what this is representing, to who is representing. And honestly, it's excellent. It's a great addition, great price. If you're building that Star Wars collection, that's another great addition. And now for the final piece in the presentation. This is something new that I'm still trying to wrap my head around what they're trying to do here. But it's interesting to see what Iron Studios is thinking and what they're planning. Of course, as mentioned, they're the kings of 110, but sometimes they step away from it to try something new and see if it really does well. We'll see how that goes. But they have this Grogu Always Curious. I think they have actually different versions of Grogu at different price points, but in different poses. That's what it seems to me. So they have the Always Curious, which is this one, which is standing up. You know, that is just a museum pose. $85. That's not bad for quarter scale. Then you got the No Squeaky. So he's holding this character, which is actually hilarious. And then you have the Food Cart Snack. And you have the Always Hungry with the little soup thing. The bowl with the soup. And the Butterfly Wonder. So honestly, and the price is $85. The only one that is more expensive is the No Squeaky, because it has an extra character. These are an interesting depictions of this. We're gonna look at the pictures now, but when you look at the specs here, you know, it's made out of polystone. Everything is polystone. So, you know, I don't know how they're able to do polystone. Of course, quarter scale, of course, is not necessarily that big because the character is kind of small in a way. So it's gonna be a small quarter scale piece. So maybe the $85 is fine. But honestly, look at this one. For example, let me just show you the Always Curious, which is the first one. This is the one. Very nice, very neat with the hair and everything. You know, you can see little hair, strands of hair. It has like mixed media on it. It's a very simple 5'4" inches tall. It's not really that tall. It's really small, but it's cool. Very nice depiction of Grogu. It's fully sculpted piece made out of polystone. Of course, has the mixed media. It's a very nice concept, honestly. They could even done this like a life size or so. It says that it's a collaboration between Sideshow and also Iron Studios. Now the No Squeaky one, here you can see, at some points feels a bit more plasticky. The guy looks a bit more plasticky, but it's kind of cool in the way he presenting it. You know, some people are gonna go maybe to collect them all. You know, you can collect them all. It's gonna come out pricey when you start buying them all, but honestly, that is another way. There's no switch out parts here. It's not like you can do whatever. I was thinking that that would be the case. No, it's different statues. That's the way you can afford it. It would be nice if it was actually you can do all the little things with all the little parts, maybe like a deluxe version or so. Now the Food Cart Snack, interesting. Perhaps not my favorite of all the rest. Maybe even the regular looks better. Just the standing still one, fine. The Always Curious. This is perhaps my least favorite, but still very cool for those who honestly want to have the whole package. That is another option. I like the Always Hungry. This is a very fun part of it. Was the second season with his soup, with his cup of, you know, little cup of soup. That is a very cool one. Honestly, another one that I definitely like. Maybe this is maybe my second favorite, or maybe it's right there on top of one of my favorites here. And finally, we got the Butterfly Wonder, which is another one too, which is awesome too. Each one has its own strength. Each one has its own appeal. And definitely it's very nice concept that if you want to have them all, you can have them all. That's nothing wrong with that. Again, they're not that big, you know, like 5-6 inches tall. It's not really that big, but it you kind of line them in your display. They're gonna look great. Now, really coming to the end of the video, you really, we already saw a lot of different pieces here. Again, I'm telling you what this company Iron Studios is doing is amazing. We have covered some of this stuff before. They keep building amazing. So there was nothing for DC this time around, or from Avatar, from the other things that they do. But honestly, what they're doing as a company, it continues to impress. Iron Studios is doing things perhaps not as sought out by some collectors. They're looking for the most premium things. But for those who are fans of a franchise, for those who love something but they don't want to break the bank and throw away a lot of money, and they want to still represent that within their collection rooms or office spaces or whatever in your home that you want to represent and dedicate for something that you love, that you feel inspired with, then definitely Iron Studios provides something very meaningful for a very good price. Now, some things, as we saw with the Disney stuff, not as affordable, of course, and I think there's something that they need to review well with Disney. And I think it's hard when you're dealing with a company as Disney, where they feel that they control the narrative because of how popular some of the franchises they have. I feel that in a way they are forced. I'm not sure that's the case. Don't quote me on this, I'm saying, but it feels to me mostly like Iron Studios is trying to do the Star Wars stuff, do the Marvel stuff, because that's really sells always. But in a way, it's kind of like they're forced to do also Disney stuff. Maybe they just love Disney, but price-wise, it's out of reach. and for most people. And at that point, if you're spending that much money, might as well just go with other companies and start collecting bigger stuff. Of course, other companies don't have the same licenses, but we can see even and I don't know, because honestly, you see what also what pop culture it's doing has been releasing some 1/5 stuff also for very good prices. So I don't know, it's a lot to say. Why is it that they're not doing the same thing? Perhaps because they're a Brazilian company, they're priced differently. I don't know. That is different because they have to pay international license. I don't know, because pop culture is getting away with it. That's something that I don't know, because I'm not privy of the information within their you know, their lawyers and all that stuff. That's something that they don't disclose. But yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed, because everything else price wise it's good. Marvel stuff is good, you know, Star Wars stuff, everything that we have seen, the Masters of the Universe, the price is where it needs to be. Disney stuff is the only thing that boggles my mind. You know, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. If someone knows, please explain it to me in simple terms in the comments. Let me know what do you think about it. But honestly, coming to the end of the video, fantastic stuff. Besides, of course, the pricing things here and there, everything else is excellent. A couple of things that can be improved, yes, always. But beyond that, Iron Studios keeps on going in their lane. They're not bothering anyone. They're just following their rules. They're following what they need to do, and they keep delivering day after day, month after month with amazing pieces. But what is your opinion? What do you think about the stuff we covered today? What do you think about the pricing with the Disney stuff? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about the other pieces? Which one was your favorite? Which one you're going to add to your collection? Let me know in the comments below. So once again, my friends, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button so you're reminded of the next video. Follow me on social media, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram. All the links are in the description. And please consider supporting the channel financially through Patreon. You can do it through the super chat, but also by clicking on the links below. You help this channel. My friends, God bless. Take care. I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.